Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hello, Woo crew, and welcome back to another episode of the Woo Curious podcast. I am your host, Eileen, and I'm here today with a solo episode. I am sitting here recording this on Friday. Look at me being prepared so far in advance. Not really. But it's a really lovely moment to be sitting to record this to you, because as you're listening, if you're listening on the day it comes out, it's December 1st. It is the beginning of the month of December, which is a month that carries a lot of different significances to different people. It carries weight, it carries magic and possibility and excitement. It also carries stress and overwhelm and, exhaustion. It's also the darkest month of the year, right? Of all of the months of the year, this month has the least hours of daylight or sunlight. That is, of course, if you're listening to this in the Northern Hemisphere. And because of that, in the same time as we have this celebration of light, really, the festivities leading up to Christmas or winter solstice or whatever holiday celebrations are in your home, your family, I'm going to guess that the majority of you listening come from the social climate that celebrates Christmas, whether or not you've ever been religious, whether you may still be. I, for one, was raised without religion, but Christmas was a big deal in my house, always was, and continues to be. I'm rambling already. But as you know, it comes with all of these different energies. It's a time that often demands more of us, even though the external world, the environment, nature herself is saying, shh, slow down, sweet one, slow down, take longer breaths, sleep more hours, sit in the dark with yourself. And so you'll know, if you've been along for this podcast ride with me the last few weeks, that today, December 1st, marks the first day of my favorite free offering of the year, Restmas. And as I record this, there are 70 beautiful humans signed up for Restmas, which means I have 2.5 days to get 30 more people into that space, into the connection and the magic and the stillness and the support that Restmas is going to provide. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what the heck is Restmas, Eileen? Pop on over to my website, myluminouslife.ca/Restmas. That's spelled Restmas. And all the details are there. But basically, it's 21 days of magical, restful support for you. There's also something really special for Restmas this year. I am opening up the doors and the invitation to have everyone who has signed up for and is participating in Restmas to join us for the December New Moon Rest Circle. And this is one of the 4 touch points, monthly calls that exist within the Wise Wild Woman mentorship, which is my full year mentorship program. And so typically it is only open to those women who've committed to that year of deep journey work, connection with self and the seasons. And I really wanted to give other people a chance to experience what an hour of guided rest can really feel like and what it can do for your body, for your soul. So, exclusive to participants of Restmas, if you're signed up, you'll get an invite to that. If you're not signed up yet, even if it's, December 14th, you still have a couple of days to join before the 16th, which is when that new moon rest circle is, and experience that rest with us. Of course, if it's the 20th and you're like, I missed all of Restmas and I really want to join, you can still join. You can still get these practices. They'll serve you well, whether it's December 1st or January 1st or even beyond, because really throughout the year, we can use a little more rest. Now, what I wanted to come on here and speak about today is triggered more by Black Friday than it is by the frenzy of holidays and needing more rest, although the two are intertwined. I'm sure, like me, over the past 3 weeks, maybe even longer, you've been seeing pre-Black Friday sales and Black Friday sales, and then Cyber Monday sales are happening as this episode is launched and aired. And this day, this frenzy of consumerism has never sat well with me. I remember first learning about the frenzy of Black Friday that went on down in the States, in the USA, on this day. I think I was probably in high school when I first started hearing about it. And I remember thinking it sounded ridiculous. Now, of course, this is pre-internet shopping, right? We went to stores still to buy things. And so this Black Friday, it really hadn't permeated Canada. I'm sure there was probably little pockets of it here and there. Maybe it existed more in the city. I grew up in a small town in Canmore, but I really don't remember it being a thing until online shopping started to become much more common and we started to buy more and more of our goods directly from the States. But I remember being like, what is wrong with people? And this is old me talking. But that sense of like, what's wrong with people that they would line up outside of a store for hours and literally fight each other to buy, the latest gadget or the TV they want. And yes, they were great sales, but this frenzy and this like actual violence that would happen. I felt very similarly about Boxing Day shopping, even as a kid. I was like, what? Like, we just got a whole bunch of stuff on, like, what are we doing here? And this all points back to the fact that since quite a young age, I have been somewhat anti-consumerism. Now, don't get me wrong. I very much love to buy pretty things. I get the same dopamine hit that everybody gets when we buy something new. I have been raised in the same culture as most of you listening, where from the time we were tiny little kids, we were literally awash in messaging, in marketing that told us to be happy, we needed to consume more, right? We had to purchase more things. Things were going to make us happy. And my thoughts on Black Friday, I wrote this whole long, it was going to be a really cute little Instagram story post. You know how sometimes people post pictures of their notes app in their stories, or they'll actually use it as a carousel post on Instagram. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do that about these thoughts about Black Friday. And then I wrote 524 words and it doesn't really translate. It was like 4 screens of full page notes. So I'm speaking a little bit to that here, but you're probably sitting here going like, how does this have anything to do with witchcraft or spirituality or any of that? And as soon as I say that out loud, like obviously you're not thinking that because the connection is so clear. So I'm going to read directly a little bit of what I wrote to keep me on track here. But I want to make sure, and so I'm going to speak it out loud, that I want to get back to consumerism and witchcraft. And that's kind of where I'm going to anchor this in for us today. But, with these massive sales that happen around this time, again, also being a small business, having products and services that you agonize over a fair price to charge for, something that feels supportive for me, but also supportive for the people who need my help. Having all of a sudden all the bigger name coaches and the big box stores and all of the places that have, some extra wiggle room in their margins slash their prices, there's this ethical alarm bell that goes off in my head. I'm like, if your program is worth $5,000 and I can get it today for $497, is it worth $5,000? And, same goes for the stores. My brain always circles back around to, if you can make a profit selling these things for this crazy discounted price, doesn't it stand to reason that you're selling it for more than its value to begin with, or for an unfair price to begin with? And I know that there's, profit margins, and there's so many other factors here. And obviously some of the people selling Black Friday deals are not making enough that would be sustainable to sell it for that price the whole year round. But there's that side of it that doesn't feel good to me. It feels a bit ick. The other side of it is, if I bought your program for $5,000 because I felt like the value was there and I invested in it, and that's a huge sum of money. I need to pick and choose what I might not do for myself if I'm going to invest in myself or my business or anything like that to that extent. And then 3 months later, you sell that thing for less than a quarter of the price. Like, it just feels ick to me. And so I run the occasional sale. I often will run a sale on soul council sessions for the month of November. And it's not a huge discount, 15%. And at this point, people know it's coming. This is your tip, that it's coming. But even that much is like, there's still something in my brain that goes, I don't even know if I'll do that again. It might just be the month that I really promote them, because I think they're extra valuable for folks during that really liminal time of year that is that space between Samhain and Yuletide or winter solstice. So anyways, there's that piece of this frenzy, this consumerism, this dropping of prices, this like, are you inflating your prices the rest of the year so that you can sell at this crazy slash price right now? And yeah, it all comes back to, and obviously not in terms of selling services, but it comes back around again to this preying on our wiring, our brain, our really deep-seated beliefs because of the marketing that has happened to us since we were little, that things are going to make us happier. They're going to make our lives better. We'll feel complete and successful when we have these external markers, even though we all know from countless studies that things do not, in fact, make us happy. We know that a certain amount of money beyond the amount we need to comfortably live and be able to spend a little bit and not have to worry all the time about it, it doesn't make us any happier. And yet we still buy into this capitalist messaging and we consume. We consume in these quantities that far exceed our needs and surpass the earth's ability to sustain us. And when I was sitting down to think about this episode, and when I was writing my little rant about Black Friday, I remembered hearing a really alarming statistic about Black Friday consumption and how much of it ends up in a landfill within a year. And so I went and looked it up, and it is estimated that 80% of Black Friday purchases will be in a landfill within 1 year. And it makes me so sad. And it makes me feel overwhelmed, and it makes me feel helpless. And then it makes me get on my soapbox and record an entire podcast episode talking about this. And again, I say so up on my soapbox, but really I don't feel like I am above anyone else. As I said, I am prey to the consumerism that I've grown up in as much as anyone. I still get that delicious hit of dopamine when I make a purchase for something that I really want. It doesn't happen the same way when it's an experience. in the moment of purchase, I don't get the same thrill as a thing for some reason. I'm sure there's a psychologist or a neuroscientist out there who can tell me why. But we aren't helpless, right? We're not helpless. We can make a difference. We can vote with our dollars. We can support the small, the local, the environmentally responsible businesses. We can give the gift of experiences instead of things. Hit me up if you know somebody who could use a really powerful remote energy healing for Christmas or for whatever holiday you're celebrating. They're not something that live on my website, but they are something that I can offer. We can give heartfelt cards and home-baked goods and the gift of our quality time. We could give thrifted items. I know everything in our society has told you that that's cheap. But why? Why, if it's something that would delight the person you're buying it for, is it not okay to give something that's been loved once before? And we can ask ourselves, do I really need this? Especially in the face of the huge sales. And of course, by the time you're listening to this, most of the sales are over or there's one more day of it. And, I'm likely actually, as of recording, I have already bought a few things on sale for Black Friday. They were things I was already wanting to purchase, things that I needed. And they're still things, but I didn't buy them from Amazon. No big corporations, right? I buy small, I buy local, I buy gently used as much as I can. And this whole consumerist, I'm going to call it a rant because clearly it's a rant. This episode's already longer than I thought it would be. So if you're still here with me, thank you for sticking it out. The topic that I jotted down for this episode, though, again, was witchcraft and consumerism. And this actually got highlighted for me really beautifully this morning when a friend sent a song to a mastermind group chat that I have this morning. And the song is called Bitch, I'm a Witch. And the lyrics are great and it's fun, it's upbeat. It's not really my style of music and my witch energy, but I get why people would like it. And the artist was called House of Hecate, and something like ding, ding, ding in my brain. I remember reading recently about how Spotify is promoting AI-generated music so that it doesn't have to pay individual artists as much money. We'll do a whole other episode on why we all need to get off Spotify. I'm working on it. And anyways, so I looked up the artist, and the description of the artist was like really suspect looking, like it unclear. It didn't actually name any person. The English was like broken and not really, like it was incomplete sentences. It was very strange. And so then I Googled it and found out that yes, indeed, this is an AI band. It says that humans are involved, but it sounds like all of the sounds, all of the everything, the lyrics, all of it's created by AI. So I'm assuming that the human piece is in the prompts. And so witchcraft and consumption, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. This really bothered me because for me and for most people who identify with being a witch and witchcraft, it's not, or at least I strongly believe it shouldn't be about consumption and profit. Is there a path where witches make money? Yes, of course, because that is our system of living these days. We unfortunately don't live in a barter system anymore. We don't live in small communities where, the community takes care of their resident midwife because she takes care of all of them. So we do need to earn money, but it's this the consumerism of the aesthetic, of a lot of the ways that I look at witchcraft, and there's lots of examples of people doing it beautifully and encouraging a really beautiful way of practicing. But when I first started, especially, I think part of the reason actually that I rebelled against the really kind of structured spell work and ritual work that I would find in some of the books that I was reading was like, I don't have all those things that they're just describing in their books. I don't have XYZ herbs. I do have a lot of herbs, but I don't have some of the ones that get used in there. I don't have a bell. Eventually will I get a bell? Probably, but I don't have one right now. I don't have an athame. I don't have a cauldron even. And I really resisted the idea that I had to go out and spend money to be able to practice my craft. Because that is capitalism getting a hold of something that never belonged as part of a capitalist system. That goes back to extraction and exploitation. There's a lot of stores selling woo witchy shit. Actually shit. I'm going to leave that word there because it's poorly made. It's cheap, but it's being sold at a premium, or it's unsustainably harvested. Like a lot of the herbs that come into these shops, they're not always either ethically sourced or grown well. Are they covered in chemicals and pesticides? It's hard to say depending on the shop. Again, ethically sourced crystals, right? There's a lot of harm that happens around those kinds of pieces too. And it's all what's rubbed me wrong. And so for me, witchcraft should be something that you can fully participate in without going out and buying a single thing. You don't need specific tools. You don't need specific herbs, especially ones that don't grow where you live. Do you sometimes want to go out and pick up some of those pieces? Of course, and go for it if you can. But, in spell work, the intention is so important. Do you have paper? Do you have a pen? Do you have a candle? If you don't have a candle, do you have some matches? Do you have a gas stove that you could light some things? I mean, okay, nobody burned their house down. But, I'm just thinking of ways that you could work fire magic if you don't even have the budget for candles. Although, hot tip, if you're not concerned about the kind of candle you're getting, Value Village is a great place to get cheap candles. And they are cheap, right? They're not typically the nice fancy ones, but can you grow some of the herbs that you want to use? Even if you're in an apartment, right? A little herb garden in your kitchen windowsill, things like thyme, sage, rosemary does great inside. Lots of places it does great outside too, not so much where I am. But there's lots of these herbs that are really simple to use and to grow, and that's what witchcraft was. It was about working with the medicines of the land, the things that grew in your garden, in the woods near your home, the stones that were found in and around where you lived. I think that's probably partly why quartz shows up in so many different spells, because it's quite common, right? It's easy to find. And all of the different tools of the trade, as it were. Can we take the pressure of appearance and consumerism off of our craft, off of our experience of reconnecting with our intuition, with our ancestry, with our magic? Can you let it be simple? Can you let it be easy? I once wrote a post saying I am the laziest witch. And in some ways that's true. And in some ways it's because I'm not a consumer witch. I don't have all the things to do the spells just so. I have what I have in my home. And if I encounter things I don't have while I'm out and about and I want to pick them up and bring them home, I do. And if I don't feel like that's something in my budget for the day, then I don't. But I don't let that mean that my practice is less powerful or less authentic or less valid. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end my rant. I would like to just say, again, no judgment whatsoever if you are partaking in the sales that are happening over the course of this last week, moving forward. I love gifts. I love gifts. I love giving them. I love receiving them. It's one of my love languages. So I'm not passing judgment in any way. And I would challenge you to pause before buying, to ask yourself, do I really need this? Is it likely to end up in a landfill within the year? Is there a different choice I could make? Is it something that they really want? Or would I be better off gifting, again, an experience or sometimes a gift card to a shop they really like if I don't know what to get them from that shop, or just a way of reconsidering? Because I think a lot of the things that end up in landfills are the gifts that were bought because we felt like we needed to buy somebody something, but we didn't actually know what they wanted or liked or needed. And then, of course, the other part is like the cheap shit that comes from overseas, because that's where we pay people terribly to make things as cheaply as possible. And of course, then they break and then they end up in our landfills. And so just again, bringing some awareness and some intention to your holiday purchasing, and where possible, again, within means. I am completely sympathetic to the times we're living in. But wouldn't it be nicer to spend $8 on a beeswax taper candle than $5 on a shitty petroleum-based one? Just those little decisions where we can make them, things that are going to be less harmful when they do eventually end up back in the ground, in the land. Remembering that our garbage doesn't disappear when we're done with it. We only have this one planet, and she's asking for us to be a little more mindful as we tend to her. Okay. Thank you for being here with me. I hope this didn't feel preachy. Please reach out to me if it did. I am here to receive any and all feedback always. I'll be back next week with a guest for you. And please don't forget to sign up for Restmas if you haven't already. And if you have, share it with a friend. We could all use a little more magic this holiday season. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment and rate and review, or, whatever is appropriate to the platform that you're on. And I will see you back here this time next week. Bye for now.